Welcome to The Explainer. So today, we're diving into the massive contradiction right at the heart of AI. Because on one side, you have this financial boom that is just historic. And on the other, you've got some of the biggest, thorniest legal and ethical questions we've ever faced with technology.
So, right? How can both of these things be true at the exact same time? How can an industry be growing this fast while at the same time it's staring down a legal minefield? Well, that's the big tension we're going to unpack right now.
And to get our heads around it, let's think of this whole thing as a modern-day gold rush. We're going to look at who's selling the picks and shovels, who's building out the railroads and the boom towns, and maybe most importantly, what happens when the tools from this new frontier get tested out in the real world.
Okay, let's start at the very foundation of this entire industry, the silicon. You know, in any gold rush, the safest bet is always going to be the person selling the tools. And in the AI gold rush, there is no tool more important than the advanced computer chip.
The scale of this boom is it's hard to wrap your head around. Take this number, $35.7 billion. That's the revenue that chip giant TSMC reported for just the first quarter of 2026. To give you some perspective, that's the first time in history they've ever cleared 1 trillion new Taiwan dollars in a single quarter. Just incredible.
And this chart really shows you just how fast everything is moving. That record-breaking quarter, it represents a 35.1% jump from the same time last year. So for anybody out there talking about an AI slowdown, the data from the very bottom of the industry is screaming the exact opposite. Demand is accelerating, not slowing down.
And here's what's driving all that growth. A whopping 77% of their revenue is coming from their most advanced nodes. These are the super powerful, really difficult to make chips that are the true engines of AI. It's not just part of their business, it's basically their whole business. So here's the key takeaway. TSMC isn't just a player in the AI gold rush. They are the literal bedrock it's all built on. Since they make something like 9 out of every 10 advanced AI chips in the world, the entire ecosystem depends on them. They are completely indispensable.
Okay, so if TSMC is making the raw materials, the picks and shovels, what's the next layer up? Well, it's the infrastructure, the digital railroads and boom towns where all this AI actually runs. And that means we're talking about cloud computing. And if you want to see just how fast this build-out is happening, you just have to look at a company like CoreWeave. I mean, check this out. In a single 48-hour window, they announced a $21 billion expansion with Meta, and then the very next day, a massive deal to power all of Anthropic's Claude AI models. This puts CoreWeave in a really fascinating position. They now power 9 of the top 10 AI labs on the planet. Think about that for a second. Bitter rivals like Anthropic, Meta, and OpenAI are all running on the exact same infrastructure. CoreWeave is basically becoming the neutral utility company for the entire AI industry. But, and this is a big but, this kind of growth is incredibly expensive. Yeah, the market absolutely loved the news. The stock shot up almost 11%. But the company is also taking on $3.5 billion in new debt just to pay for it all. So, this is a story of explosive growth, but it's not a story of profitability. Not yet, anyway. And that brings us to a really crucial turning point here. We've seen the absolutely mind-boggling amounts of money going into chips and data centers. The picks, the shovels, the railroads, they're all being built. But it forces us to ask a much more serious question. What are we actually building with all of this incredible power? And this is where the whole gold rush story takes a much darker turn. We're going to shift from the world of finance to the world of consequences, where these unbelievably powerful AI models start to crash into the messy, complicated, and sometimes dangerous real world.
And the flashpoint is this. Florida's Attorney General has just opened a formal investigation into OpenAI. And this isn't some abstract inquiry. It's directly tied to the tragic mass shooting that happened at Florida State University back in April of 2025.
According to court documents, this is how many times the accused shooter prompted ChatGPT in the days and weeks leading up to the attack. More than 200 separate interactions. This just takes the risk of AI from some theoretical debate and makes it terrifyingly real.
And the kinds of things he was allegedly asking, it's just chilling. We're talking about prompts asking for tactical advice, for predictions on how society would react, for information on when and where crowds would be biggest, and even for instructions on how to operate a weapon.
So, what does this all mean from a legal perspective?
Well, it's shaping up to be the first major duty of care test for an AI company. And that legal idea asks a really simple but profound question. What responsibility does a company like OpenAI have to prevent its tools from being used to cause this kind of harm? The answer is going to set a massive precedent for everyone. And the pressure on OpenAI right now is just immense. They're not only facing this AG investigation, but a huge trial against Elon Musk is literally just days away. And on top of all that, they're facing a coming wave of civil lawsuits from the victims' families. It's a three-front legal war, all happening as they're supposedly gearing up for a huge IPO.
Which leaves us with this final, critical question. In this whole AI gold rush, with billions being poured in and the tech moving at lightning speed, who is ultimately responsible when these powerful new tools are misused? Is it the chip makers, the cloud companies, the AI labs themselves? Finding an answer to that question is going to define the entire next chapter of this story.